Hello.
Bryce, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Cool. Yeah, doing really, really well. Thank you so much for taking the time, first of all.
Yeah, absolutely. This is cool. I've never used Riverside either. This is a new experience, but I'm liking it.
Me too. It's like Zoom for when you take content seriously, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel very professional. I should be wearing a tie.
Yeah, me too. Same kind of vibe. I've been worrying about this call since Friday. So yeah, I do feel also black tie sort of thing. Well, Bryce, let's get straight into it. I mean, like I said, thank you so much for this opportunity. I have just a bunch of questions. We'll see how much time we need. I hope we can cover a lot of them in like 15 minutes. But when I saw that email come into my inbox on Friday morning, my time, at least when I opened my inbox up and decided to check out what's going on, it really struck a nerve in a good way.
A good nerve. Okay.
A good nerve, because we've been looking, and I think that, like in general, the low-code community has been looking for a way to integrate tables and chatbots. There are tools out there that kind of promise you that, but not exactly to how you're doing it. So yeah, I guess the first question is, could you like give me a quick overview of what Zapier Tables is and how this integration works with chatbots, and most importantly, what prompted Zapier to do it in the first place?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, Zapier Tables is basically your data hub for all things automation. So if you're like, I think about it like a trucking or logistics company. It's like your data is moving around and you kind of need like a central hub to keep it organized, keep it strong, keep it flowing. And so Zapier Tables kind of gives that strength to whatever system you're building. And then Chatbots obviously is, powered by AI and has that conversational nature to it. And the way they're kind of joining forces is now in Chatbots, you can tell the chatbot to ask for name, email, company right off the bat, at least to start, right? And that's gathered and parsed out in the back end and then thrown into a table automatically. And so that allows you, to like automate whatever you want off of that table, send that data wherever you want to send it, do whatever you want to do from it. So yeah, that's the quick and dirty.
And what prompted you guys to actually like draw that line between, oh, you know what, let's store data, but now let's use that data as a source? Like, was there a need in the market that you spotted, or was this like the idea all along from the inception on the chatbots, or vice versa tables?
I mean, a bit of both. I mean, we definitely at Zapier, right, we've got all these newer products we're releasing, and we know that they're going to be better together. Like, that's where it's really going to be powerful, is when they can weave in and out of each other, right? So we did have that idea from the start that we'll likely want to integrate, but how and what exactly we wanted to pull in from chatbots into tables, we got that just talking to customers, and clearly, just lead management. I mean, it's a pretty obvious use case, right? It's on your website.
Yeah, of course.
And we needed that to be pulled in. But tables as a data source, and sorry, I'm talking a bit, we just released capturing lead information, so that's like on my mind. I realized tables as a data source, though, also like that's a slightly different piece, and I think that's probably what you're actually
yes,
exactly. Out. It's not fully drunk yet, but so tables as the data source, right? Like, so I mean, if you have a website with FAQs, right, and you've got new FAQs you want to add in, like, you don't want to have to think too much about like updating your chatbot or like making sure the knowledge source that was first there, it's a static file, is up to date. Like, we want to make sure that that's, constantly matching what you need it to match from a knowledge base perspective. So when you can automate records going into a table, then that part of the process can be automated, and the chatbot can have a brain that's always updated, right?
Well, on that, because I have some like questions about the future of how this relationship is going to evolve, tables and chatbots.
Right.
So part of that series of questions kind of deals with, well, okay, what about things like syncing? Because you're mentioning, I don't want to worry about this PDF expiring the moment I upload it against that chatbot, which is how 99% of chatbots similar to Zapier's work. You have to upload some kind of static file and it becomes old the moment that it gets indexed.
Yeah.
In your case, are there plans to be able to automatically perform a sync? Because right now, based on some of the demos that some of the fiddling around that I've done with the chatbot, I have to press sync. Are there plans to automate that part? Because it's still a little bit, it's less annoying than finding a PDF, uploading it, waiting. It's just a button. But are there plans to automate that or call it to sync?
So the answer is yes. And I think it's it's one of those things, right, where we're iterating quickly so we can get stuff out there, right?
Okay.
And I feel like this is we're not trying to be Apple where we release a new color and everyone's like, wow, yes, we've been waiting for it. But it's a pretty obvious we need that sync button to be pressed automatically by robot.
Or scheduled.
Exactly. Right? So that's definitely the fast follow to releasing this is testing it, making sure everything's working, and then we iterate and move fast. So that'll come.
Lovely. I hope this year. And
yeah, me too.
Kind of on the same wavelength of the technical aspects of how it works. Can we expect the indexing limit to also go up? Because again, I get it, you've just released this, but natural logical thinking leads me to believe that the indexing limit of 1,000 rows should also be extendable at some point, not just by default, but maybe based on the plan that I have for my chatbot, for instance, that I pay for. That's going to come too as well, right?
I would assume so, right? Right now, Chatbots is still in beta. So when you think about it from a development standpoint, we're releasing features, making sure that cost isn't extravagantly high. We put limits in place so that we can learn, and that's why it's in beta. So I would imagine if things are working well, people are yes, we need more, and we hear that from the market, which I would assume we will, right?
Absolutely.
That will then be baked in, right? So don't have a hard time frame now. No. Of course, I'm not the PM, so I don't even manage. I'm not managing the Jira board, Alex. But yeah, I would imagine that will come soon.
Beautiful. Because we come from a background of Airtable.
Mm-hmm.
There's small clients will definitely have about 1,000 rows of data, so that could be super useful, especially if we are dealing with something 1,000 rows, but at the same time, we can also sync it. There was some ambiguity in which 1,000 rows it's going to pick, because let's say I upload 5,000 rows. I wasn't super sure what 1,000 rows. Is it the latest 1,000 rows? Is it based on some kind of criteria? Which 1,000 rows is it picking up on?
Great question. I don't have the answer to it, but if I were someone like you, I would choose the 1,000 rows I want and then only upload that, right? You can upload up to 5. Depending, I think, on your plan, you can upload to 5 knowledge sources. So I would take knowledge will be static most of the time, pull that into its own knowledge source and upload it into a chatbot, and then pull out the 1,000 records you think are going to be moving and changing and things like that, and use that in the table as another knowledge source. So I would use a combination.
I was thinking then. I was thinking of that. This is another question. From my perspective, the use case that we see a lot of our clients kind of needing this for, especially in its second, third iteration where you have more data. I can sync automatically on a schedule, or I can have more indexed rows. It's people in sales where they want to talk to their order, sales data, Like,
Mm,
well, who
yeah.
was the best performing client this month, or how much margin are we making on product A? So that was like one of our
Sure.
biggest use cases. And the question to you is, what are some of the use cases that you guys envision that this collab between tables and chatbot will bring forth?
Yeah, it's a great question. And honestly, there's a bit of this gray area between chatbots and Central, which I don't know if you saw the release of Central. It's in preview. It's like not even really fully released. But chatbots, like, ultimately is a bit more of an external use case. Like, that's our focus, like lead management on your website, nurturing leads, whether also customer support, right? Empowering people for the customers. There's certainly, yeah, those use cases where it's empowering sales teams and kind of an internal team to interact with data. But I would say chatbots is more focused on the external
stuff.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas Central is the new AI product where we're bringing like conversations with your operations. That's sort of how I see it. It's like everything that comes into Zapier flows into Zapier, like even knowledge sources for your sales team, like Central lives in Zapier and can be that a bit more of that conversational approach to internal data. So there's a kind of a bit of an overlap in use cases with that, but I think that that's likely where we're going to see more of a split in the future, as far as what product focuses on what. So that's my take.
All right.
See.
Cool. Hot takes. I'm kind of conscious of time. So I want to wrap up with like a quick few questions that deal with the future of Zapier as you see it evolving right now. Because Zapier historically since 2013, something like that, has been this like on the forefront of automation and being, that platform that pretty much everybody knows nowadays. I see some of these things happening with tables, Central, chatbots. Do you guys feel like there's things that you can bring to the table that other people can't in the space of competing with Airtable for tables, competing with other chatbots, competing in not the automation realm anymore? Is this something that you feel like is going to be a key driver for the next year or so? Like this diversification of Zapier?
Yeah, great question. So I think 2023 to now, like over the last year and a half, Zapier has experienced a radical shift in its priority with the same mission of making automation work for everyone, but understanding not everyone wants to work with automation because automation is tricky, a bit difficult to understand. But ultimately, it is a fundamental layer in anything you build on the internet, right? There's that logic layer. It's necessary. Not everyone loves dealing with logic, right? And so when you take a marketing team who wants to move really quickly, they're going to need operations. They're going to need logic layers. They hopefully have a marketing ops team that can help, but maybe they don't. And so they need to be able to build stuff quickly.
I see.
And that's the beauty of no code and even Airtable and things like that. But they also need strength so that when they build and grow, they can kind of pull out tools, pull in tools without throwing the system out of whack. They need to be able to grow and say, hey, no longer am I so protective over my Google Sheet that no one can touch it because it's going to break everything. Like, we want to bring teams in so that there's strength and flexibility as you build and grow. And so the shift for all these newer products that we're seeing is a response to that, right?
I see.
Empowering
and
more
also,
people to...
And also you're making Zapier more sticky.
There's a business incentive to multi-product, a multi-product strategy, right? It is stickiness too, for sure, right?
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And final question, which I completely forgot about, and that is, are we, again, I understand that chatbots isn't beta, but is there any kind of glimmer of hope for us to have other sources other than tables? Or you feel like the move here is to shield us from using Google Sheets or something else as a data source for the chatbot?
Good question. I don't know their current plans, but Zapier is still like, we still love all of our partners and it's a part of an ecosystem, right? And so if we start shielding different apps, like that's just not going to go well for anyone. So that's where it is a unique approach for Zapier to be able to make it beneficial to have strength with Zapier products. Like, you throw things into Zapier tables, it's free. There's no tasks involved. Like there's some incentive there, but we want to be able to play well and work well with all 6,000 of our partners, right? So I would imagine that will come, right, at some point. And how it looks and when, I don't know, but we still want to take the like tool agnostic, tool partnership ecosystem approach, which has been our bread and butter and unique to Zapier and what puts us in a friendly, awesome place on the internet. So
cool. Okay, Bryce, that's it. That's all the questions I had. I seriously appreciate time.
Yeah, for sure.